The DAB party is calling on the Leisure and Cultural Services Department to let the private sector design and manage playgrounds. This follows some complaints that facilities are often dull and lack character. The party says the government spent $700 million upgrading 170 playgrounds since 2019, but some children still don't want to play there. Well, to discuss this further, we're now joined on the line by DAB lawmaker Nick C. Lam. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So perhaps to start off with, what are some of the problems that these facilities currently face when people say they're dull and lack character?
We do have a little girl interviewing with everyone yesterday. She mentions basically she travels to everywhere, every corner in this different towns. The playground is basically the same thing. So it's just like standard little slides and then the little roller, and that's it. So basically, if you go to any of these 170 playground, it would be just 170 same play space at all. So it just doesn't stimulate the kids. It's basically at the moment in Hong Kong, we do see some problems. With some report was saying that the kids was having muscle training or muscle coordination problems. It's basically killing their creativities as well, but because of limited choice, limited stimulation. So, and most importantly, if you look at the imbalance of numbers of play space in different districts, it's a big difference, big gap between the Kwai Chung areas versus, say, Western district. And on top of that, for grassroots children, they just don't have a choice. They can only play the nearest little playgrounds under them, and sometimes there's a repairing problems as well. We see playgrounds in those towns being maybe broken, they have a broken floor mat, or they have a broken piece there. It just takes a year or so for them to repair. So basically, it's just not there. A lot of these problems were actually creating issues that just kids just don't have a choice at all.
Mm. Now, your party is calling for the LCSD to allow the private sector to design and manage playgrounds. What can these organizations do to actually make a difference?
Well, that's already an example at the moment in the Two Moon playgrounds there. Basically, the designers or what we say the planners, they can actually inject creative ideas into those playgrounds to input concepts of play value, concepts of placemaking, just inject fun. And also it's more inclusive rather than those standard playground designs. They put in some creative design to play with water, play with sand, having space to have disabled kids that is available for them as well, and also areas that is available for elderly parents to bring their kids over there. So mostly in Hong Kong, you see grandparents were bringing their kids, their grandchildren to the playground, but they have no place to sit down around or under the shed. It's just like a community. You have a little community in those playgrounds, and just like a little world there. But there's no space for everyone else, and the age limit as well. Basically, at the moment, most of the playground, the kids don't see any fun of it after they're 7 or 8 years old at all. But it's just like, this space is for 5 to 12. So a lot of the things that could be improved, but we see a lot of limitation with the LCSD guideline at the moment. It's basically quite difficult to shift. One of the current guidelines is to say, well, you can only purchase design from experienced government contractors, which drastically limited the choices in town. I was a district councillor before, a few years back. What we see is we can only choose from one booklet. That is one contractor. So how much choice we were left for the kids in Hong Kong is basically nothing.
Now, speaking of the aspect of fun, I grew up in the 1980s in Hong Kong, and I remember playgrounds back then had massive slides and things were just more fun in general. So what happened? Because people tend to share old photos of old playgrounds in the past. What changed the culture?
I think the culture is LCSD is quite responsible for all the safety measures in the playground. Hence, a lot of purchase down into safety comes first. I'm not saying that we are creating crazy designs like a roller coaster design that's going to kill the kids or whatever. But we're just saying that we are looking at a lot of the new design or new ideas internationally that can actually balance out the safe side and also the creativity side. But we just don't see that for those like basic playgrounds in town. So it's important, I think, for public and private cooperation there to have local designers who understand the concepts of play value, place making. They can communicate with the local community. They can talk to kids. What we see is a lot of the local designers, before they design a playground in a so-and-so community, they will talk to the parents in those areas. They'll have some play groups and to just talk to them and see what they like, what are the age groups, and what are the local, even some local experience or histories that they can inject into the whole play areas. So I see that is something that is more valuable and basically just worth the money if we're going to spend so much. We're talking about $700 million for all those repackable playgrounds. I don't think we need like 500 of those similar like sliders or whatever.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Nixie Lam, a DAB lawmaker.